Scientists fight a fire and alien intelligence at the bottom of the Pacific in Sphere. One of 3 new movies we'll be reviewing this week on Siskel and Ebert, in addition to discussing what surprised us about this year's just-announced Oscar nominations. I'm Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune.
And I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times. Sphere is one of those movies that starts out promisingly by suggesting sensational revelations, and then the more it reveals, the less it turns out there is to reveal, until finally it just comes down to the actors trying to explain the plot, not very successfully. It's based on a Michael Crichton novel about the discovery of a gigantic spaceship on the Pacific Ocean floor. Here we meet the key players as they descend to the craft. Dustin Hoffman is the psychologist, Peter Coyote is the commander of the undersea habitat, Sharon Stone is the biochemist, Liev Schreiber is the astrophysicist, and Samuel L. Jackson is the mathematician. Their first sighting of the craft is a disappointing special effects anticlimax.
Oh my God. Norman, look at this, look at this.
Jesus, that's just a fit.
On board the sunken spaceship is a mysterious sphere. The team members speculate about what it is, what it does, and what it means. There is a lot of speculation in this movie.
Yeah, it appears to be mercury, doesn't it? Except mercury's liquid at this temperature.
Oh, no, that's not what I'm talking about. What worries me is that it's reflecting everything but us. I hate to be the one non-scientist that picks this up, guys.
Queen Latifah, who was so good in Set It Off, plays a radio operator attacked by jellyfish. This scene illustrates the hackneyed Hollywood rule that the first character to die is usually an African-American.
They starting to stick to my faceplate.
Fletcher, this is Dr. Fielding. Just swim through them, they're harmless.
Hey guys, these jellyfish are everywhere.
The scientists find themselves responding to what seem to be computer messages from the sphere.
What are you thinking about, Norman?
That last part where he said, I am happy.
Well, don't you want Jerry to be happy, Norman?
Honestly,
Yeah, what's on your mind?
I would be happy if Jerry had no emotions whatsoever.
You know, by the end of this movie, I was just tired of theories about the sphere, and I think the actors were too. The last scenes are sort of a toss-up. We don't know if it's characters discussing the sphere or the actors discussing the plot. And the ending is flat and disappointing, both because of a talky and unconvincing conclusion that gives us really no resolution or satisfaction, and also because of an important special effects shot that should be the movie's big moment at the end, but is frankly so puny and under scale that it just looks goofy.
Well, you do walk out of there, at least I did too, walking out unsatisfied. But beyond that, while it's playing, I was unsatisfied for this reason. Here you have big talent. I mean, you see Dustin Hoffman in pictures, Samuel L. Jackson, and Sharon Stone, who really can transfigure herself and transform
she's
herself.
Pretty good in this movie.
Yes, she is. So you see these people, but they're trapped by the genre. In other words, that's like taking a talent and having them perform a high school play. Okay, I mean, they're going to do better than the kids, but...
But why bother with this play?
Yes.
And why bother with this screenplay? And why bother with the Crichton novel to begin with? It is really basically recycled out of a lot better science fiction, especially Solaris. And what we have here is all of this endless dialogue in which they talk about it this way and talk about it that way.
And also
these cheesy sets and the bad special effects, the exteriors all look just like crummy models.
The one good thing that I did like is the stuff with the computer that's on board and an alien intelligence that apparently is talking to them.
Didn't you feel like they could have really exploited
That's
that?
it. That's my point.
Every time the computer says something interesting, like at one point the computer says, "Stop calling me Jerry." And they say, well, I wonder why he said that. You know, why not ask him?
Exactly.
You know?
I wanted more with the computer because in the history of movies, one of the greatest characters of all time is the HAL 9000 computer, 2001, and here...
Well,
even
this computer couldn't carry Hal's bags.
Okay, couldn't carry Hal's floppy disk. Okay, our next movie is called The Borrowers, and it's quite entertaining, based on a popular series of children's books by Mary Norton about some little people, teeny tiny people, who live under the floorboards of a big old house. Isn't that a good idea? And borrow stuff from the human-sized lender family. Only the lenders don't realize what's happening.
I get it. You run up the bill and I pay it. Come on, I use the phone. Sure.
John Goodman plays an attorney for the late owner of the house, and as he schemes to steal it from the lender family, the borrowers put a crimp in his plans.
Help me! Don't take me! Hey, wait, no! Well done, Pea Green. Oh, I hate those things. Me too. Come on.
What remarkable little creatures. Did you see his little hands?
Now, to its credit, The Borrowers has a homemade, homespun quality that is very appealing. It's not a hard-edged 90s computer-generated piece that is all design and no substance. I like the idea, I must admit, of there being borrowers in the woodwork, and never got tired of seeing them in this picture. Thumbs up for me.
Oh, thumbs up for me, too. And, you know, this director also made Bill and Ted's Bogus Adventure,
Right.
and he has a real good look in this film where you have obvious matte shots of the city in the background and then the little village in the foreground where the borrowers and the lenders live. And I love the entire final sequence where the little boy, 4 inches tall, gets trapped in the milk bottle, and all of the things that are going to happen to him at that dairy, including at the end, of course, he's in a bottle full of milk with a cap on the top. That's a job for Houdini.
The idea that they didn't make it bright and shiny.
Yeah.
You know what I'm referring to there?
It's funky. Yeah, it's got a great visual look.
Yeah, in other words, you can relax in this picture and get into it and just say, you know, I wish this were really true.
Yeah, it looks and feels like a great children's book.
Yeah.
Coming up later, some Oscar nominations that delighted us and others that left us stunned. Coming up next, Adam Sandler is the wedding singer and wants to sing at his own wedding.
Is it true that you're in the middle of a nervous breakdown?
Whoopity-doo!
Little Hershey's Kisses. Big chocolate taste.
It's pitch dark, and boom, the elevator falls 13 floors to the ground.
You went to Walt Disney World?
I got a 6-year-old brother, man. My parents dragged me along. And Space Mountain is so fast, 3 hours after, my knuckles were still wiggling. You went to Disney World? Cut me some slack, man.
Now, see, he's got a little brother, so his parents made him go.
Oh, and you want to see a wicked water slide.
Call 1407-W-Disney and make the dream come true.
Mom? Are you too old to have more kids?
I wish my parents could be here to see me win, but I know that's not possible because it's lunch.
And right now, get 2 Big Macs for just $2. Did somebody say McDonald's? Proud to feed the world's Olympic athletes.
You're the wedding singer.
Yeah. How you doing? I'm Robbie.
I'm Julia.
Adam Sandler plays a wedding singer who meets a waitress played by Drew Barrymore and likes her, even though they're at this point both engaged. And if the setup sounds familiar, so is the whole plot, which is recycled directly out of all of those comedies of misunderstanding that have fueled countless movies with stories just like this one, going all the way back to half of the Astaire and Rogers movies. A week after that last scene, Sandler has stood up at his own wedding and has a confrontation the next day with his ex-fiancée, played by Angela Featherstone.
Why do you need to leave Ridgefield? We grew up here. All our friends are here. It's the perfect place to raise a family.
Oh, yeah. Living in your sister's basement with 5 kids while you're off every weekend doing wedding gigs at a whopping $60 a pop?
Now, that puts him over the edge. He was a sweet guy, but now he turns into a miserable monster.
Hey, buddy, I'm not paying you to hear your thoughts on life. I'm paying you to sing.
Well, I have a microphone, and you don't.
So you will listen to every damn word I have to say!
Barrymore is also engaged to a creep played by Matthew Glave.
Hey, Glenn, I hear you're gonna have your bachelor party Friday night before the wedding. You gonna be all right with that? I mean, you might miss Miami Vice.
Nope, summer, reruns.
One of the many problems I have with The Wedding Singer is that Adam Sandler should never play sincere, since he somehow sounds as if he's making fun of the dialogue. Another problem I have was that everyone else should have made fun of the dialogue too. The only good moments in this movie were provided by walk-ons like the one by Steve Buscemi as a drunken best man. I think we have another example here of our old friend, the idiot plot, in which everyone has to be an idiot or they'd figure everything out in the first 15 minutes.
Well, what I'm getting tired of, to narrow it down in terms of the recycling of this plot, is, you know, I'm engaged to marry a jerk, and there's somebody else as an alternative. I think that some pride should come out in the screenwriters of Hollywood and say, you know what, I'm going to play off of that one. I'm going to do a variant of it. That's the spirit. I just don't know how they can keep doing it. Anyway, I disagree with you on this aspect, though. I think Adam Sandler can play sincere. I kind of liked him in this role, and I haven't found him to be, you know, unctuous like the Pauly Shore, let's say. Sandler, I think, can do it, but he's trapped by this specific plot.
I hope he can, and I wish him the best. But, you know, how many times do we have to see that scene where, you know, the girl goes to the guy's house to tell him the truth, but the door is opened by his slutty girlfriend who gives the impression that they've spent the night together? I mean, that scene is almost like a rubber stamp.
Coming up next, some big surprises among the Oscar nominations and our take on why some favorites were snubbed when we come back. The 70th annual Oscar nominations list was announced this week in Los Angeles, and there were some stunning exclusions. Most notably, Leonardo DiCaprio, not nominated as Best Actor for his striking performance as a charismatic working-class passenger romancing an engaged society girl in Titanic.
I'm not an idiot. I know how the world works. I've got $10 in my pocket. I have nothing to offer you, and I know that. I understand. But I'm too involved now. You jump, I jump, remember?
Now, why was the nation's other movie heartthrob of the moment, Matt Damon, nominated as Best Actor, but not DiCaprio, who, in my opinion, gave an even better performance? Well, Matt Damon beautifully co-wrote his genius role in Good Will Hunting, and he and his partner Ben Affleck were nominated for that. But the actors who nominated in this category may have been so impressed that he actually wrote himself a great part, which is every actor's fantasy, that they gave him extra points and nominated here. DiCaprio, thus, was robbed, in my opinion, in a role he is absolutely romantic in, and as an actor, he's so creatively unpredictable. He's responsible for a lot of Titanic's repeat business, and here's a note, if he had been justly nominated, Titanic would have become the all-time movie record holder with 15 nominations.
Well, you know, you're right about DiCaprio. Not nominating him for Titanic is like not nominating Clark Gable for Gone with the Wind.
Wow.
I mean, what are they thinking when they didn't nominate? Everybody must have said, oh, you're going to vote for Leonardo, or you're going to vote for Leonardo. And I'm not taking anything away from Damon, but who was also just wonderful and a great movie. But I think maybe when they vote, they're always thinking of the story. Gee, how nice it would be if Matt Damon, who wrote this screenplay, I'll vote for him. And of course, there are four other people that got voted for too, so you never know who decided what. But DiCaprio is the one that missed the boat, so to speak, and it isn't fair.
And we know he's a good actor. It's not that he's just the greatest looking kid in the world. I mean, What's Eating Gilbert Grape?
Oh,
this kid is a tremendous actor.
So he'll win an Oscar next year or 3 years ago. And
it'll be a
makeup consolation prize.
Yes,
okay.
Good point.
Another title a lot of people were surprised to see missing from many top categories was Steven Spielberg's Amistad, which was not nominated for either Best Picture or Best Director. It did get a nomination for Oscar favorite Anthony Hopkins in the supporting role of John Quincy Adams. My own feeling was that this exclusion didn't come as that much of a surprise. Amistad chose a difficult story to tell about a boatload of Africans who were charged with murder and what was the proper defense for them. Matthew McConaughey, as a real estate lawyer, meets with two abolitionists here and explains his very practical approach to the case.
On the other hand, let's say they aren't slaves. Well, if they aren't slaves, then they were illegally acquired, weren't they? Forget mutiny, forget piracy, forget murder and all the rest. Those are subsequent, irrelevant occurrences. Ignore everything but the preeminent issue at hand. The wrongful transfer of stolen goods.
All three courtroom scenes in the movie hinge, therefore, not on the moral issue of slavery, but on the legal issue of property. It was hard to make that clear, and the storyline didn't create a well-defined emotional appeal to the audience. Even the victory at the end was sort of hollow. If Spielberg had been able to make the same powerful emotional appeal that he created in The Color Purple or Schindler's List, I think Amistad would have been nominated. But as it is, I think if you gave an exit poll to a lot of people going to see that movie, they wouldn't be able to clearly tell you really what the movie was about.
To his credit, what he did was try to tell the historical record, which is this is a victory for the American legal justice system and for African Americans. I mean, it is a victory. And in the images of lawyers that are so negative in the movies today, here were some lawyers who did the good work of this country. Well, it's tough to tell that.
It's very tough to tell it, and it wasn't. That's why I think it wasn't nominated.
I agree.
Because people didn't leave the theater saying, wow.
Okay, when we come back, the Oscar nominations that were made that surprised us, but absolutely delighted us.
You sexy thing, you.
It all started with this dime tip. Suddenly, I was the boss. So I gave myself the day off and went shopping. It was so great. Everything I tried on fit like it was cut just for me. Later at the salon, Candace Bergen shows up.
This will make your day.
Just for signing up for Sprint's dime rate, I got up to 200 minutes of long distance free. On the way out, I passed the dime on. Who wouldn't want a great rate like that?
Call now for 10 cents a minute and get up to 200 minutes free.
All my life, my parents have been there. Through the long drives, the cold rinks, and now that I've won, I wish they could be here to see me. But I know that can't be possible, because it's lunch.
And now at McDonald's, get 2 Big Macs for just $2. Or get 2 Morning Fresh Sausage McMuffins with egg for just $2.
Oh, hi, honey, how'd it go? Oh, no, don't tell me. I taped it.
Did somebody say McDonald's? Proud to feed the world's Olympic athletes.
Continuing our discussion of the Oscar surprises, we come now to the good news. Nominees we were surprised but happy to see included, and right at the top of my list is Robert Forster, nominated as Best Supporting Actor for Quentin Tarantino's Jackie Brown. Forster's perfectly modulated work here was one of the year's real acting high points as he played a middle-aged man who was good at his job but tired of doing it.
Possession of unregistered machine guns.
Damn. Now, they're going to consider that a violation of his probation?
They do consider this a violation of his probation.
Forster and Pam Grier create an understated relationship in Jackie Brown that is a joy to behold. Now, this is the kind of mature, thoughtful, quietly powerful acting that you rarely find in the movies, and credit to Tarantino, too, I think, for writing such a complex role. On our annual memo to the Academy, where we advise voters on who we think they ought to nominate, Forster was one of my choices, and I let out a shout Tuesday morning when the voters apparently agreed.
Well, you called him thoughtful and mature, and I want to say restrained. Think about this situation. You're an actor who's been very good, but now you're out of work, basically. You're doing voiceover stuff. You get the chance of your comeback to play in a Tarantino picture, and yet you're confident enough to be restrained. He doesn't push his role, and that's so exciting.
It's perfect control of tone. That's what it is, and it keeps the romance underneath the surface instead of them jumping into bed as they would in a routine
I would love to see that I'd love to see that the Oscar nominators spotted all this subtlety.
Right. Another pleasant surprise was the strong showing by The Full Monty, which got 4 nominations, including Best Director and Best Picture. It was a human comedy about a group of unemployed British steelworkers who decide that if the Chippendale dancers can make big bucks as strippers, so can they.
Now the bells ring. Now the 2, 3, 4. Now the suck.
The Full Monty was a comedy, but the characters were as real and as clearly seen as in any of the year's dramas.
Yes, it's a terrific film, and I would challenge American screenwriters again. We don't write comedies about working-class people.
No, we don't.
Do the screenwriters in Hollywood even care about people being out of work as an issue in their life?
Audiences are hungry for this story. That's why they took it, accents and all.
Good. And here's another surprise inclusion that absolutely delighted me. I was taken aback, but totally support the 2 nominations of The Sweet Hereafter for its director and screenwriter, the talented young Canadian filmmaker Adam McGoyan, who drew a powerful psychological portrait of a town devastated by a school bus accident that kills 14 youngsters and brings a mysterious lawyer to town offering to help.
I will sue. I will sue for negligence until they bleed.
The Sweet Hereafter was not a box office hit, but Academy members are sent videotape copies of most of the pictures that are up for consideration, and enough voters obviously screened The Sweet Hereafter on tape to recognize the film's many fine qualities.
I was so happy, as you were, to see Adam Egoyan nominated as Best Director, because he is one of the few directors in North America right now who is still trying to make quirky, eccentric, personal films. He's in the tradition of Robert Altman and Martin Scorsese and the great directors of the 60s, and he's still plugging away, and boy, this film was powerful.
And if people want to learn more about his work, Rent Exotica, a really terrific film of his. My other delightful surprise was in the Best Documentary category. In years past, so often the subject of controversy for not nominating the year's most popular documentaries. Not true this year. Rightfully receiving a nomination this year, Spike Lee's wonderful Four Little Girls about the infamous 1963 Birmingham church bombing.
I remember coming down the steps of Addie's and Denise's funeral and letting go of the casket. I don't know, I just lost something, you know.
You'll have several opportunities to see Four Little Girls on HBO beginning February 23rd. Also nominated as Best Documentary this year, and I'm glad it was, Waco, The Rules of Engagement, directed by David Gizecki and executive produced by Dan Gifford and Amy Summer Gifford. The tragic story of the standoff between the federal government and the Branch Davidian settlement in Waco, Texas.
With its appropriations hearings a week away, a large, successful raid would produce major positive headlines to counter the ATF's reputation as a rogue agency whose debacles blackened the reputation of other agencies.
Another celebrated documentary this year, Errol Morris's Fast, Cheap, and Out of Control, was wrongly not nominated. The Documentary Screen Committee got 2 out of 3 right on this year's high-profile documentaries. That's a very good batting average for them, and congratulations.
Yeah, but you know, and I agree with you, but the 2 that they nominated, as we've said before about this committee, are traditional documentaries. They're sound bites and newsreel footage and old photographs, and it's all put together.
Historical record.
Historical record. Another film that I know they were considering was Little Dieter by Werner Herzog, which is a story where a guy tells what happened to him in Vietnam 25 years ago. And that one, like Fast, Cheap, and Out of Control, is experimenting with the form. And these people seem to be terrified by anything that doesn't look just like a Walter Cronkite 20th century show from 30 years ago.
Okay, so even when you get most of it right, one of us has some complaints. Coming up next, another look at the movies we reviewed on this show. And now let's recap the movies we reviewed on this show. 2 thumbs down for the science fiction adventure Sphere, despite its star-studded cast. 2 thumbs up for the clever fantasy The Borrowers. And finally, 2 thumbs down for The Wedding Singer, but it was a close call from me. I thought it wasted a nice performance by Adam Sandler.
So The Borrowers is the one to look at, and for families, yes. Remember, you can hear our reviews on the web at Siskel-Ebert.com. Next week, we'll be back with reviews of more new movies, including Palmetto, with Woody Harrelson and Elizabeth Shue in a film noir set in Florida.
You know, this could work.
That's next week, and until then, the balcony is closed.
New Jergens Skin Smoothing Lotion gently exfoliates dry, flaky skin. Jergens Skin Smoothing Lotion, because you have beautiful skin just waiting to be revealed.
Carnation Instant Breakfast, packed with 21 essential vitamins and minerals. It's a healthy start to your day. Carnation Instant Breakfast from Nestle.
Now on video. You have no idea what you're in for. Christopher Walken is back in the year's most suspenseful thriller, Prophecy 2. Rent it now.
Around 3 o'clock every day, I get a little crazy. I have to have this sweet hit. Luckily, this new Healthy Choice pudding really does the trick. Chocolate, raspberry, French, vanilla. With Healthy Choice, you can eat what you like.